Hi everybody, Jess here from Meadows Flowers. So what I thought I would do in this little video is give you a little bit of an idea of what we've been up to this weekend at Meadows Flowers. So as we've always said, Meadows Flowers is an artisan cut flower farm, and I'm a florist and I'm based in mid Staffordshire. So the first job we've managed to get done this weekend is we've managed to clear the Polytunnel. It's getting a little bit claustrophobic in here and getting a little bit stressful. So the melon has come out, the cucumbers have come out, we've picked through the zinnias, and there's now a little bit of room to work. So what have we got? These are, if you've the video coming up and you'll get to see this over the next few days, the early spring bulbs have been planted. So these are the scented narcissi. So I've got the early cheer that I did last year in the galvanised buckets. I'm interested to see how they come back this year. And then I've done some in some long pots, and then some of the bridal crown, which are the white scented narcissi, just in a pot that one of the cucumbers came out of. So rosemary's had a good trim back, and I think that they're going to want repotting next year, but that will stay in the tunnel nicely over the winter. The ridiculous fluorescent pink cordyline is still in here as well. So these are the chrysanthemums. They're just really nicely coming into flower. So that's Aloe salmon. That's absolutely beautiful. I'm going to do that one again next year. Got some of the sprays, and I'm watching these buds day by day, because next Saturday it's the last of our Fizz and Flowers events for this year, apart from private parties that people contact me about. I'm fully booked. I've got 5 people coming, so I'm going to get a little bit of a panic attack about the number of flowers I'm going to still have ready. Looks like dahlias will still be here, hopefully going to have some roses, but I'll do a video later in the week of counting the stems and crossing fingers that I've got enough flowers for everybody. But these will be lovely by next weekend. Then got more, as you can see, chrysanthemums everywhere. Don't know if you can see quite how tall they are, but I mean, they're to the roof of the Polytunnel, apart from this weird dwarf stumpy one here. So last weekend we planted up the anemone corns, so that was a job well done. So they'll sit in here again over winter and hopefully give us some nice early spring colour. The grapevine that we planted earlier this year is starting to create its shape, so we're training this up a pole. If you can see this, it's going to come up a pole and it's coming round a pair of hanging baskets. So the idea being that we'll have a standard grapevine containing its size and shape, so it's not too big, and that'll hopefully, fingers crossed, give us some grapes. Unfortunately, it's not a wine variety, otherwise grow your own wine is very tempting. Poor figwood looking a little bit sad now. Figwood's about to drop all his leaves. We may, I think that one's going to do it, we may just get enough late sun to get some of these figs ripened. Dianthus is still here, and we have the last of the zinnias. So spent a bit of time today going through these zinnias, having a look at who's got buds which may well be ready for next weekend, making a bit of an assessment as to, you know, he wants deadheading, but I'll get around to him in a bit. So having a look at what we've got coming, what is likely to be in flower for next weekend, and any that haven't are now over. Last of the asters, bless them, and then the seedlings are coming on really well. Still not sown the scabiosa, got to get around to that at some point, but there are really not just enough hours in the day to do everything. But the good news is Amy looking really good. My larkspur, the ones I said earlier in the week were slugs, if you can see those, are actually coming. The antirrhinums have had a water, so they look a bit floppy, but they're looking good. So is the Orlea, loads of Nigella, and even the Dorcas that got attacked by the birds, there's more and more of it coming, so I'm hopeful for that now. Now, one thing we have done this weekend is we've harvested the squash. So last year we did the red Uchikirki. This year we've done red Uchikirki along with Crown Prince. And I was really hoping to get some really good squash to do a lovely video to show you how I would go about doing a flower arrangement for table centre in a squash. Oh dear, they're a little bit pathetic. I mean, if you can see, that's a 6-cell tray. They're absolutely tiny. The lack of water this year has meant that they've just not done very well at all, nor have the Crown Prince. So I think we'll have to have a think again on that one. But if I can summon up the courage to have a go with one of these, we'll get you all a video. Ginger won't be far off coming in the house, but this is really, really clever. Have a look. Gingers are getting ready for harvest. And the new rhizome we can see, so that'll be where we'll leave that in, and that'll come back next year. So the job I've not had managed to get a chance to do this weekend, and let's face it, I can't do everything, is to sort the cutting beds out. They're getting a little bit of a state now. I've got asters here that need pulling out, I've got weeding to do, but I've got loads of self-set cornflowers, so I'm in two minds how much weeding to do in this bed. I might just pull the big weeds out. The gypsophilus ready for harvest, and then I think I might leave some of these cornflowers behind. So I was hoping to get the Dutch iris planted out, and that was my aim, and they're going to go in this bed around the Sweet Williams, but as you can see, it is absolutely full of weeds. I'm going to have to summon up the courage to make the time this week at some point to get on my hands and knees, get all of this weeds out, and then we'll get the Dutch iris in some trenches. But interestingly, and this is really interesting me, is this is the bed that the larkspur was in. And if we look, loads and loads and loads of self-set. There was Amy, Nigella and larkspur in here. Now, I'd normally be weeding all this out, but I think this year I'm going to leave them and see what they do. We'll see what comes back in spring, and then we'll make a decision. Do I move them? Do I transplant them? Do I weed them out? But I think when a plant's gone to that much effort to sow that many seedlings of its own, let's give it a go. Just noticed down here as well, there is something else here which is self-set like mad. We'll keep an eye on that. And then in the gravel, lots and lots of what I'm suspecting is Nigella. Again, hey, let's leave it alone. Let's see what it does. Let it make its own decision in life. But jobs we have got done this weekend. We have cleared out all of the tomatoes out of the greenhouse. So there was 18 tomato plants in here. They're all out. They're all being turned into some lovely unctuous passata that's bubbling away in the Arga. Has been for the last about 24 hours. And the reason I've needed to get all of this cleared out is that the ranunculus should be turning up this week. So my plan this year is I'm going to do the ranunculus in these raised beds in the greenhouse. So I'll keep you posted on how that goes. But the major job for this weekend... about like a building site. It is a building site. This is very exciting. This is where my flower studio is going. It's coming in about 3 weeks' time. So we've got a bit of work to do to get this ready. Got to get the concrete base in and get it all ready. So I'm going to have my lovely flower studio here just behind the woodshed and by the septic tank. It's in a lovely location, but it's an area of ground that we've got room to use. So I'm definitely going to do some videos on how this comes on, because this has been a bit of a mission this weekend, digging all of this off by hand, moving the soil. So we've moved about 3 tons of soil off this. Doesn't look like it would, but it would. And I've moved all of this shovelful by shovelful into bags out of the way. And finally, it's been an exciting delivery I want to show you. Look at this! This is going to be my tulip planter. So it needs a load of holes drilling in the bottom of it, but this is a 8-foot long cattle water trough. And if we can zoom out a little bit, give you an idea, it's going to go under my office window next to the living room, and it's going to get filled with tulips. And then in summer, it'll be filled with gladioli, because this year the gladioli, bless them, have done really, really well when they're still trying to flower. But there's been a couple of small sort of bathtub sized troughs, and they've just not been deep enough. And the Nerines, they haven't flowered this year, but I'm sure they will at some point. So yes, very sad that I'm getting very, very excited about a very shiny water trough, but I think it's going to be amazing. Anyway, that's what we've been doing this week at Meadows Flowers, or this weekend. So as always, if you like what you see, want to find out more about what we're doing on our little cut flower farm here in mid-Staffordshire, click the button to subscribe, and yeah, pop here in the comments what you think to us.